It's that time of year, once again. What's good, Internet? My name is Attack Slug. WrestleMania was 2 weeks ago, and usually this time of year is when I begin my speculation and my predictions for this year's WWE 2K video game, but man, this is like a once in 100 years occurrence, pandemic, global crisis. And the biggest question on everyone's mind is, will there be a WWE 2K game this year? Will there be a lot of video games happening this fall that would usually happen that might not happen between delays, cancellations, and whatever else? I can't predict that. But people have been asking me, what do I think is going to happen this year? And if it does happen, then how could they do it? How could you make something this year in a work-from-home situation as might have to be done as it concerns the WWE 2K franchise? So strap in, here we go. Let's get down to my expectations and predictions for WWE 2K21 if it happens. And yes, I've seen the rumors. Yes, I've seen the speculation. Yes, nothing is concrete. Believe me, I am on the internet an unhealthy amount of time, so I see everything. But generally, I don't comment on rumors and speculation of this sort. So, what I will say is that every year, when you see all those YouTube videos saying, oh my god, this year's 2K game is confirmed, you guys, it's happening, even though it happens every year. But what triggers that is the 2K Take-Two earnings call. And that usually happens early in May, like May 7th to 9th. Somewhere in there is their quarterly earnings call where they confirm what's happening in the rest of the year. One of those games being the WWE 2K franchise. And so generally, I would have waited until that earnings call to do this video. However, in the current global crisis situation, will there even be an earnings call? Is that even going to happen in a couple of weeks? I can't even predict that on that end, so why not do this video right now? It's Sunday, I had nothing else on the docket, so why not do this video? And y'all were asking for it, so here we are. First and foremost, we do know from job listings for Visual Concepts, the creators, the now sole creators of the 2K franchise, since Yuke's is no longer in the picture, that they are hiring for work-from-home positions for the Visual Concepts studios. Now, that doesn't say particularly it's going to be on 2K, but overall, they are hiring work-from-home positions. And you would hope that would mean somebody somewhere is working on a wrestling game. Additionally, the fact that Yuke's is no longer in the picture means that any delays you would have had from work from home in Japan and work from home in California don't exist anymore. It is all in one location, which ideally speeds up the entire process, which has been obviously slowed down with this whole work from home issue. But here's the largest problem, the largest stumbling block for us fans who want new stuff in the game, especially new superstars, is that a lot of work does go in WrestleMania weekend in terms of face scanning, in terms of having all those superstars in one location to do the deals you need to do to make the game happen in the fall. And as you know, if you watch wrestling, there wasn't a WrestleMania weekend. Mania still happened in the PC, but you didn't have all those different groups and companies and everything else converging in one location with all your superstars in one location for this grand wrestling weekend. So not having new face scans means that you wouldn't have the actual scans for new faces. And yeah, you could have the 2K modelers do those faces, but look at The Rock last year. Do you want that for Walter and Kushida and anybody else who was not in last year's game? Do you really want that? I don't think you do. But if there's no choice, there's no choice. The other problem is you would have to have the new motion capture for new moves. And if you can't gather in groups large enough and be able to get into buildings to do those motion capture things, that is not a work from home scenario. You can't do that working from home. It's just not a feasible thing unless there is a whole capture setup in somebody's garage, I don't see it happening. And also, if you're gonna do another My Career, like the past 2 My Careers, you need the voice acting. And if you say ship your equipment to all the different superstars' homes, or if you ship all the equipment down to the PC and can get the voice acting that way, then maybe. Or you have varying qualities of that depending on everyone's home setup. Do it over Skype. It'd be terrible, but it'd be there. I don't know. At this point, given everything we know, the absolute best quality scenario would be a shined up version of 2K20, hopefully fixing a large amount of the issues, as that game still has a large amount of issues. It would be a shiny, fresh coat of paint that people like me say those games are every year anyway, but even worse. This would be even older paint, and it would be just like, yeah, you get it on the shelf, and you technically put out a game, but there wouldn't be a whole lot of new stuff in there. And that really begs the point, what actually is in the contract between WWE and 2K? Because I've heard the other rumor that there's going to be a different WWE game this year, but it won't be a simulation 2K based game. So does the contract say, hey, you got to put out this thing you've been putting out in the 2K franchise? Or does the contract say, hey, just make sure you put out a WWE game in this calendar fiscal year and we're good? Like, again, we don't know those things. Now, the other option that would make you way less money, but bring you way better goodwill from a already very angry fan base who bought last year's Trash Fire, would be to fix last year's Trash Fire. Would be to pull a No Man's Sky type scenario where, hey, we've got this time, we're working from home, let's put out a gigantic patch fixing the game and making it a better video game. I don't think they'll do that, but the option is always there, man. In the digital future, the option is that you can make good on the original promise of that game, but that doesn't put a box copy on a shelf at the end of this year and does not make them the kind of money they would want to see from that. And again, if your contract says you have to have the game out for the year, then doing a patch for last year's game, they don't want to see that. So given all of those incredibly harsh restrictions, what could you do? If the game is still happening, and if everyone is stuck working from home for the foreseeable future due to issues, then what could you do? Well, on my list here, as I would say every year, number 1 in terms of new match types, give us special guest referees. What is stopping you? You had that even in the Daniel Bryan showcase a couple years back, so you could do it. Just put it in there. Expand your online options and your online gameplay. Give us more options to have for matches. Give us better lobbies. Last year was a step in the right direction, but you didn't go far enough to having us be able to simulate the kind of matches we want to have with our friends. It's not quite all the way there. Let us use custom arenas in online games. That'd be cool. When it comes to new modes that you could totally program and would be a thing you could put on the front of the box to say, hey man, it's finally back, and something that would not require you to have, face scans or mocap for moves or voice acting or any of that, is the most obvious answer on the planet. It's GM mode. GM mode wouldn't require any of those things, wouldn't require any access to any superstars. This is the year you could do a GM mode, you could make good on the promise of what the hardcore fans have wanted for a long, long time, and get a lot of goodwill that way, again, if it's good. Now I know right after I say GM mode, some folks go, well, what about create a story? And if that needed new mocap, that probably wouldn't work, right? But think about how many cutscenes you already have in that engine and what you could use to make some kind of a ramshackle bit of mode there. It potentially, maybe. I would want to see, after WrestleMania, a Boneyard match arena and make sure it's interactable, because the Wyatt compound was so freaking boring. Like, that could be awesome, and you wouldn't need to have superstars stand for that or voice acting. Make it like the old SVR games, plenty of interactables, all kinds of cool stuff in a boneyard in that arena. That could be awesome. Do that. Speaking of arenas, and speaking of WrestleMania that just took place, I would expect to have the empty arena performance center in that game if the game happens this year for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, WrestleMania. At the bare minimum, that should be in the game. And if you give us that WrestleMania version of that performance center arena, please let us jump off the Mania sign like Kevin Owens did. That's just common sense. Don't put it in there and not let us jump off of it. Seriously. But we do know that WrestleMania was canceled in their stadium so close to it happening. It was merely weeks away, which means all of the design work, all of the podiums, all of the set, all of the stage had been done, right? And 2K should have all that information. So at the very least, give us the WrestleMania that should have been that arena in the game. Like, why not? I want to see that stadium with the pirate ship and all of the Mania trappings to stage everything. That design work was done months prior, so why not put it in the game if the game happens this year? Now, in terms of the My Career, again, if you can't get the voice acting and you can't get everything else, can you really do a My Career without having to go back to a text-based My Career? That you could do that. It's a step backwards, but you could have a text-based My Career. And if you have a text-based My Career, could you actually have a separate men's and women's My Career? Again, that's totally feasible. One more thing you could program with everyone working from home is some kind of a crazy 24/7 title mode. I would love to see that. In terms of what you could do for DLC, as we saw in 2K20, if you can't scan a bunch of new superstars, it's gonna be more fantasy bullshit. I'm sorry. 2K Originals. And if you're gonna do that, at least make it better this year, please. Which brings us to who would be on the cover of the game, and I think that if WWE can get Ronda Rousey, as she's been teasing things recently, if she will be back on the show by the end of the year, then having Ronda Rousey on the cover as a mainstream star makes a lot of sense. If you can't get Ronda, you got Drew, you got Braun, and I know everyone's gonna say, hey man, The Fiend. Obviously The Fiend is the top pick for that thing, but what you gotta think is that yes, if the game comes out, it would also have a special edition. And if you want to sell that special edition to idiots like me who are going to buy it every year because this is my job, then The Fiend in a Firefly Funhouse special edition makes all the sense in the world. But I hear you asking, well, what about the pre-order bonus? And I have one simple thing to respond to with that. It is CM Punk. Because CM Punk being open to working with Fox, talking about wrestling, and we know that 2K in the past, THQ in the past, has been able to work with wrestlers that WWE is not on talking terms with. Warrior and Macho Man both had deals with wrestling video games, but not having deals with actual wrestling. So yes, a CM Punk deal could totally happen for 2K21. Now, would that happen without a modern face scan? That's a whole different conversation. I'm saying if they wanted to do it somehow, some way, they could probably make that happen. And of course, the final talking point of the video, the final thing that folks want to know is what platforms will it appear on this fall? And I will say, do not hold your breath on a PS5 version or an Xbox Series X version, even if we know that Xbox, with like a Halo Infinite, if you buy the game once, it'll be on the best version on whatever platform you buy it on. I don't think that wrestling will have that luxury this year. Look at the thing historically, right? Look at what they've done historically with SVR 06. Came out the same year as the Xbox 360. We didn't see a next-gen version until SVR 07. 2K14 came out the same year as the PS4. We didn't see a PS4 version and Xbox One version until the following year with 2K15. So they always do that. I wouldn't see any differently happening for the game this year. And yes, I saw the rumor that, oh, it also wouldn't be on those platforms in 2K22. But do you really think that 2K would leave that money on the table for those consoles if those consoles come out this year? That, again, a lot of things up in the air. I know Sony has said, yes, we're going to have PS5 this year. I know Xbox has said, yes, we're going to have the Xbox this year. But it's April, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen this year with anything because of the absolute nightmare scenario we're currently all living through in the world. Anyhow, that's going to do it for me in one of the weirdest years I've ever seen in the entire time I've been alive for a whole lot of things, and it's not going to get better anytime soon, but I'm still going to be here making videos whether or not that game comes out this year. We shall see. I'm Attack Slug. Thanks for watching. More videos right here on this channel. You better tune in, you better subscribe, and I'll see you right here next time, and I'm out.